Contractors. Google doesn't rank websites. It ranks who should get the call. Today, we're going to talk about the 5-step local visibility system to understand exactly what Google is deciding on who gets the call. And my hope is that by the end of this video, you're going to understand that how Google actually thinks about things without having to chase tactics over and over again and hire all these SEO companies. Today's episode is sponsored by Samsung. We are here in their creator room and they've given us these materials and this new whiteboard for us to be able to film. So let's go. In the 5-step local visibility system, we're going to start with number 1 on reality. And with reality, this is your name, your address, your phone, details about who you actually are. And a lot of people will go to directory listings. They'll think that this is some kind of thing that you can just pay a Yext or pay some other directory provider to, fluff out and spam across 100 different yellow page, phone directories. But this is something where it's really just your footprint. Think of it as like your address. So when Google understands who you are, then it can associate that, it's like a phone number, associate that with memory. And this is how Google remembers who you are. It's not about Google discovering you. It's about being able to associate information about you. And this is what ties to your GBP. So your GBP is saying to Google that I'm a HVAC contractor in Dallas and I do replacement units, right? So this is still tying back to the identity. And so Google can see that based on the reality that's reflected back in these different properties. Now, this can also include your social media, YouTube, your website. All of these items tie back to understand whenever Google is helping make information as it collects information, is trying to categorize it based on what we've talked about with how Google organizes this big database called the knowledge graph. That's the structure that everything is fitting into. So if these 2 foundational layers are missing, then the 3rd layer, which we'll call signals of life, don't have a place to go. So this is where you have the reviews. This is where you have photos. This is where you have the jobs that you're doing. This is all this information about who you are, right? And a lot of the biggest mistake I see among home service businesses is that they don't translate their operational excellence. Could be, their vans are not wrapped properly. It could be they don't answer the phone. It could be they're not asking their team members or technicians to get reviews. Then there's not enough signals. And the beauty is when you have these jobs and reviews and mentions and whatnot, that's the real proof that Google's looking for. So no amount of AI is going to overcome not having that. So if these signals are here, then we're looking at relevance paths. Now, this is when Google is making decisions on who should show up. So when we have, I'm not an artist, but let's say this is a home, and let's say this is a map pack, and this is the service. So let's say, this is plumbing. Then these are 3 things that Google is tying together. So if a homeowner is asking for HVAC repair in Dallas, we need to be able to match that service with that location against these signals that are here, right? And if that matching occurs, and this is where you have schema, this is where you have location service pages, this is where whoever is working on your website actually takes these real signals and moves them up into this category. This is where the difficulty is in trying to do SEO, because if the tie-in with the signals don't tie with the site and Google Business Profile, it's creating confusion. So it's not we're trying to trick Google, we're helping Google trying to understand who we are. 5th layer and final layer is outcomes. Kind of hard to draw with the finger here. Okay, so the outcome is when we want calls. Well, if you're feeding the calls back here to these signals, feeding it back to the website, feeding it back to social media, you create this congruent loop. This is where LSA, for example, which is the starting point that everyone should be as a local service business, is able to give you more of the right kinds of calls because Google is absolutely looking at where people are searching. Are you responding to these calls? The feedback that these consumers are leaving. And then this starts to signal back in here. When you track and measure these outcomes, and we can't prove it, but a lot of us, we believe that when we use Google Tag Manager, when we use Google Analytics, when we use Google Maps, when we use other Google products, these signals, using their stuff, using Gmail, using Google Photos, we're showing we're friendly with Google, and Google absolutely, we believe, uses a lot of this data for their rankings. So a lot of these SEO experts want to hide from Google because they're afraid of getting caught of their sorts of tactics that they're outsourcing through third-party link builders or auto-generating AI stuff. And I got hit up yesterday by a vendor who wants to partner, and they say that they have AI invisibility detection where nobody can catch them. And no, if we are honest, good contractors, we do what we say that we do in the cities that we say that we serve, then we absolutely want to feed that back through Google Tag Manager, by marking calls in LSA, by having pixels in place, by doing retargeting, by setting up location service pages on our website. And so this loop from step 5 to 3 is what will power this local visibility engine for you. When you understand this one thing, you're never going to be subject to constantly dodging and adjusting based on all these different tactics. Who is this guy? I think it was Red Palm, where they said, yeah, well, Google keeps making changes and they keep damaging us in the rankings. Well, that's because you're doing things to try to cheat Google. I'm biased because I'm a search engine engineer, and I believe if you're good at what you do, your reputation is what carries you, not on the technical trickery that you have. But understand this 5-stage system. Consider where you are in these different components. How strongly are these signals grounded into Google's memory, tied back to the reality of who you are? If you have, who was it that we talked to? Mr. Reliable in Houston, you've got 3 locations. We have 3 GBPs that tie to 3 name, addresses, and phones that tie to a single website that are all generating signals back down here. Is it really that hard to believe that if you do these things, that Google can see proof of life, can see you actually do what you say you do, while everyone else here is trying to hack this top layer? That's why it doesn't work. That's why you hear people, they come to me and they say, I got burned by the last 3 marketing agencies I hired. Yeah, because they're just doing this and not tying it all the way down. Like painting a house a different color and not fixing the internal wiring and plumbing and foundational elements that are broken. I hope you found this helpful in this week's episode of The Marketing Mechanic. Every Thursday, we have a new episode just for you guys. We want to see everybody be able to win in local. And those of you guys who do good work, who believe in reputation, you can learn. You can use this to improve your business. You can take control of your marketing. And we hope to demystify this. If you're a young adult and you want to learn how to do this, we help young adults start agencies. We help young adults implement the training that we have out here for free. We have a coaching program as well. But contractors, this is what the SEO agencies don't want you to know. And once you realize this is the case, you can start asking, what are you doing, right? What are you doing to actually increase the signal here? Can you show me how that's tying into calls here, into real business results? Can you show me how the calls are tying back into feeding that data back to Google and Facebook? When you feed your call data back, they can figure out who your best customers are. You want them to know that. So like, share, subscribe. Love to hear. What do you guys think? How can we create more value so that the good local businesses win?